There we go. Okay. So, today we are going to talk about keeping your writing style consistent slash not being influenced by other stuff that you are reading. So, first obvious, easiest method is only read something that you intentionally want to mimic. Want to write like Tolkien? Read books that are massive fantasy novels. I know that Tolkien doesn't have 1,000 books. There are plenty of people who write Tolkien-esque. You can find more. So that's honestly the easiest way because then you can intentionally mimic that style and just continue to enjoy reading that specific style. But I know some people are like, I don't want to read 1,000 books that are like Tolkien, or whoever you're trying to mimic. So the second easiest method is don't read for at least 2 to 3 hours before you start writing. That way your brain gets out of that mode. It's no longer thinking, oh yes, I'm a character in a Pride and Prejudice novel, and it's like, oh, I'm a normal person again. Because I don't know about you, but I have that moments like that where I read, and then all of a sudden my brain starts narrating things the same way that I have read for the last couple hours. But anyway, so that's the second easiest way. Now, the third easiest way, and the way that I wouldn't recommend to any of you guys because you're going to school right now, is to just not read anything. But you guys are in school, so that's not exactly possible. Just be like, sorry, teacher, my other writing teachers told me not to read until I finish my novel. No, don't tell them I said that. Don't do that. Oh man. So it's important to read and learn from reading because, in some ways, what makes us a better writer is not just practice, but also learning from masters. And so, reading good novels can help with that. So, let's talk about also how to intentionally mimic in such a way that it can be helpful to you. So, part of creating your own style is a blend of other people's styles. Now, obviously, you don't want to go from like Tolkien style to like comic style. Like that's going to be jarring and crazy for readers. But you can take the good things from different things and mesh them into your own brand, so to speak. Um, so the best thing that you can do for this is whatever you want to mimic currently, read a little bit from that type of novel just before you read it. So kind of the opposite of not reading, intentionally be like, oh, I'm going to reread the first chapter of The Hobbit before I start if you're trying to mimic Tolkien. Or alternatively, you can just read whatever the heck you want, whenever you want, and instead you analyze what you're reading. Now, I will say this does take some of the fun out of reading. As someone who does this because I'm an editor and I can't get out of editor mode, it's impossible. I reboot, no work. It just stuck there now. I can turn it off a little bit, but I can't fully flip the switch. The switch is broken. So, but it can be a good thing because it helps you to learn. So analyze what parts of the style do you like. Do you like how they use show don't tell? Do you like how they use their specific character development? Do you like their grammatical choices and think that they're fun or unique or add to the sentence in some way? Don't just sit and be like, oh, that was an awesome chapter. Be like, why was that an awesome chapter? What about it made me go, oh, that's an awesome chapter? Was it the grammatical choices? Was it there had an epic scene? What about that scene made it so epic? What would have made it less epic? What would have made it more epic? Different things like this can help you to develop your own style too, because you can go, hey, this is something that I super enjoy, and I want to, as a result, create that same feeling in my own readers. Now, this can be crazy if you like a bunch of crazy things, but that's part of developing your own style. I have one guy who's in my adult writers club that literally their style is crazy, but it's also crazy unique because of that. He took like the best from freaking Cthulhu, Nightmare, H.P. Lovecraft stuff, and the best from like the novels that make you want to tear your hair out because you feel like you're going insane, and like Edgar Allan Poe, and just went. So like it's crazy stuff, but it's very unique and very much original. I've never read his stuff and went, oh, this sounds like X person. It's always been his own thing. And so in some ways developing your own style can be that way too. Now, is there something wrong with sounding like other people? No, that's why we have so many authors that so many authors that sound like Hunger Games, Suzanne Collins. So many authors that, because mimicking other authors, there's nothing wrong with that. They're good for a reason. But developing your own does make it so that you stand out from the crowd. And it can make it so that you also not only stand out from the crowd, but that you're more likely to get published because you trendy novel number 7. Granted, can you get published by being trendy novel number 7? Absolutely. You just need to find a publisher that's being like, trend, woo, and then hop on that train. But that's sometimes hard to do because trends switch so fast, which is why being unique is a little bit easier. All right. And then this last thing may sound weird, but I'm going to clarify. Don't plagiarize. Now I'm going to explain. This is where you take a passage from a book that you're currently reading and you rewrite it in your own style. You specifically say, what if I had them have the same dialogue conversation? How would I change it? How would I describe this scene? How would I describe them walking down the corridor and seeing someone stabbing someone in the back or something crazy like that? Like, read the scene and then either you can type it word for word and then alter it, or you can read the whole thing and then try to rewrite it yourself. This not only helps you develop your own style, but it also helps you analyze the writing even deeper, like we were talking about earlier, because you really have to look at each and every sentence and go, okay, is this because this is how the character talks? Would I make the character talk differently? What would I make this character say differently or do differently? Or even if you have them do the exact same things, what kinds of descriptors would you use that they might not use? They show fear by them trembling. Do you show it by them sweating and panic? Like, what different sensory things are you going to use? Um, this sounds like plagiarism, but it's actually a technique that a lot of writers recommend because it really helps you to get deep into that writing and deep into that mode of I am going to write like the masters, like the people who have come before me. And it can also help you realize I don't like this specific thing too, and that's okay. Be like, I love this author, but I hate this specific character. Why do you hate them? What makes you hate them so bad? What makes other people like them? Because maybe other people do like them. For example, I know Ron from Harry Potter. 50-50. I've met lots of people who hate Ron's guts and other people who are like, Ron's the best. So, like, what makes him so detestable to you or likable to you? And is it the same traits as someone else? Or is it, in which case it's just personal opinion, or is it a distinct thing that you are noticing more, that you are emphasizing more? Um, because sometimes that's just part of it too, is certain things bug people so much that even if you do it once, they're like, I hate that character forever. For example, for me, it's cheating on their spouse. If a character cheats on their spouse, I'm like, done. I hate you forever. I don't care. Like, no. The only time I find that acceptable is if like abused or their spouse is toxic or something like that. But if they have a perfectly good, awesome relationship with their spouse and their spouse is a wonderful person and they cheat on them, I'm just instantly like, I hate that character forever. There's nothing they can do to redeem themselves. Like, that's just a line for me. And some people, that's not a line. Some people, that's actually a trope they like in romance for some reason. I don't know. Ask Hallmark. There's so many Hallmark movies that are like, I'm engaged to this guy, but oh my gosh, I fell in love with this guy. And I just, ugh. Anyway. So, I don't know. Ask Hallmark.
There's a lot of questions I have for Hallmark.
But yeah, so with those kinds of things, think about what you like and dislike and why you dislike it. Think about why other people like it. I've had to actually come to terms with this recently too, just because there is a character that I really don't like in something that I'm reading currently. And I'm like, what would make them more likable? How could I make them more likable if I was to write this? If I was to write this, how would I make it so that this character goes from me being like, gag, I hate them, to being like, okay, I might support this. I might actually like them. For example, I can't remember the title of the book for the life of me. But there was this vampire book. If I could remember what it was called, I would tell you so you could avoid it. That I just didn't like. I no, I haven't read Twilight, so I don't know how I feel about Twilight. Um, But it was a newer one. It was about vampires during the Civil War, which I thought was a cool concept. But then it just became incredibly reverse racist. And so it made it extra bad when she fell in love with a white guy, and the whole time she was like basically being like, I loathe him just for his existence, but also, and I was like, no, you can't loathe him because he's white, but then also be in love with him. And she was so abusive towards him and toxic towards him the whole time, and just, it was bad. But anyway, so I think what could have made her more likable is if she had gotten over her hate, if she had grown out of it, if she had been like, guess what? I'm doing the exact same thing that the slave owners did to me, and that's messed up. Instead of being like, oh my gosh, it's fine because he's white, so I can abuse him all I want. Like, ugh, ick. Like, just because someone else did it to you does not make it okay. Like, ugh. So I think that's what would have made her a better character, though, if she had grown out of that, if she had grown past that, if she had realized that what was happening was not okay, and that continuing to emulate the behavior that she hated in other people was not going to make anything better. And that yes, you can be traumatized and that can push buttons, but you need to work on moving past that. You can't just be like, I'm traumatized, give up. Like, no, try to move past it, try to heal, try to learn, try to grow. So, with that being in mind, this is something that you can use hopefully as a tool when you're reading. Try to, at least when you're done, even if you don't necessarily want to do it right in the second and be like, I wonder if that was foreshadowing or whatever. If that ruins your reading experience, that's fine. You don't have to do that. But at least when you put the book down, when you end the chapter, go, okay, what do I love about that chapter and why? And what do I hate about this chapter? And what would I do differently to make it less hateable? Or alternatively, how can I mimic that because my villain needs to be this hateable? Like, if you want to mimic that so you can have them hate them, then also that works too. But point being that it's important to really ingest the information that you're reading instead of just reading it, because that will not only help you become a better writer, but it will also help you not to be quite as influenced by what you're reading. So your writing style isn't bouncing all over the place. All right. Any other questions regarding like analyzing writing, or like how to avoid accidentally having your style become like drastically different midway through the page? Okay. All right. Then, as usual, because this is a video, I'm just going to give a quick little rundown of the newest contest. The newest contest is due on February 28th. I did figure out that we are open that day because I was like, it's whatever the last day we're open is in February. It is the 28th. So it is a Saturday though as well, so we will only be open until 3 4 well until 4. But I need you to turn it in by 3:45 because if you're banging on the door at 4 o'clock, I'm not going to let you. Sorry, too late. Um, However, if you're like, I'm not going to be there on that day or something like that, you're welcome to either email me or drop it off in like the outdoor drop box or something like that the day before, or drop it in a couple days before. Obviously, earlier is great, but at the same time, I want you to feel like you have enough time to polish it. Prompt for that one is to write, speaking of romance, to write a romance story that takes place during the winter holidays. When we say winter holidays, this can be a made up fantasy winter holiday. This can be Christmas. This can be New Year's. This can be Hanukkah. This can be Kwanzaa. This can be a pagan holiday. This can be a Viking holiday from like ages ago. Whatever you want, as long as it's a holiday that took place or takes place during December, January kind of vibes. And as far as the romance goes, it doesn't have to end happily. I will also clarify that because we had someone ask recently, like, what if it's a tragedy? It can be a tragedy. It just needs to involve romance and be during a holiday in January or December. And it also doesn't have to be like they meet and then they fall in love. I actually wouldn't recommend that because that is super hard to write within 3,000 words. It's actually going to be way better if you like have them go on a single date, or if you're having them like celebrate their anniversary, or if you're having them meet for the first time and starting to think that maybe this could be love and like crushing on each other. Like, as long as you have some element of romance involved, it doesn't have to be meet and now we're married by the end. Like, too many time skips to make that work.
Unless you're making fun of Disney.
Unless you're making fun of Disney, in which case you got to be obvious about it and be like, "Wow, it's like Anna and Hans and Frozen," and
That did
everyone's
not
like,
end
"That
well.
didn't end well, you crazy psycho." But anyway, that would actually be really funny if someone did something like that. It's like Anna and Hans and Frozen, they're best friends. That didn't end well. Who cares? It'll end well for me. Like, if you want to do something like that, I would laugh my butt off. So like, feel free. But yeah, I'm gonna turn off the video now so we have time to write and things like that. Feel free to do whatever you would like.